this next keynote speaker coming up, this is an amazing man here. He's an e-commerce giant. He is a marketing mastermind. He was coached by Grant Cardone, Mr. 10 times himself. You know who that is. This is Mr. 0 to 1,000 multi-family homes in under 12 months. Get your hands together for Carlos Salguero.
How's everybody doing tonight? So I texted Jeff earlier tonight and I said, hey man, I went to my school, my kids' school this morning, and they had First Responders Day. And they were singing the national anthem, and they were doing God Bless America, and they were doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And it reminded me of when I grew up. My dad and my mom made incredible sacrifices to put both my sister, my brother, and I in an American school in Ecuador. With money they didn't have. They were paying about $1,000 a month per kid to put us through this American school so that we could learn English and that we could be ready to fulfill my dad's ultimate dream, which was come to the United States. And every single Monday, we would come together in assembly and we would sing the national anthem of the United States of America, back in Ecuador, where I'm from. So I grew up believing that one day I could land in this country, and my dad always brainwashed us. You gotta go to the United States. You gotta live in the United States. The freedom, the opportunity, the chances that you'll have there will be so much greater than here. And it just humbles me to say that everything he said growing up became true because we believed. Because belief is the #1 reason why people have success. Because you have to see it before it becomes. You have to see what's possible before you achieve. So when Jeff invited me to speak tonight, and he told me the title of the event, which is kind of hard to pronounce for me, because my second language is English, unapologetically chasing dreams, right? And when you're thinking about dreams, most of us think that only kids dream. And when we grow up, we lose them. That we don't dream anymore, that we can't dream anymore. But the reality is that no matter how young or how old, you have to keep dreaming, because that's what keeps us alive inside. That's what keeps us wanting to not only do more, but to help the next person that is behind us. So tonight I'm going to share a little bit about my story. I'm going to try to go quick, and I know you guys have been here for a minute already. So the first thing I want to do, I want to make sure you guys stand up. Stand up for me real fast, okay? We're going to energize this room, and we're going to say some affirmations that I tell myself every single day, and that every person, I believe, should talk to themselves a little bit, right? Because how do you program your brain and your heart? With this instrument that we were given. So we're going to say the affirmations that I say every day. I am a leader. I am a mentor. I am successful. And I help the next person behind me. So I hope that tonight you came to believe that dreams can be achieved. That things that you think right now are impossible can be achieved. And the next thing I say is, I can. Say it. I can. I will. I am. Thank you, guys. You can sit down now. All right, and the next thing I do is I express my gratitude. And this is so key, guys, because when you are grateful, you don't have time to think about the negative stuff. And I think me coming from a third world country gives me a unique perspective of how things are in another place in the world. In a place where opportunity is scarce, where corruption is abundant, where You know, the things that you see there, the poverty that you see there is either wealthy beyond your wildest dreams or poor. What you think is poor doesn't exist in this country. So with gratitude really comes this feeling of you being able to know and understand that what you have is enough, but that you can bring more into your life. So tonight I'm incredibly thankful. First of all, to God to give me this opportunity to be here, my family that joined me tonight, my wife Myra, my son Isaac, first responder Isaac, fireman Isaac, so proud of him, my beautiful twins, Caleb and Gabby, that joined me tonight. And this is really the first event that they see me on a stage speaking. They've seen me speak in other places, but tonight they're here, so it's so very special that I'm here. I want to thank Jeff for inviting me and the Sparta team. I want to thank Anthony from Social Capital for building this beautiful venue that we are going to use very often, Anthony. We're going to do big things here. And of course, I want to thank my friends, all of you guys that came tonight, that took the time to come tonight. Some of you guys even had birthdays, like Jenny Smith, and you're here tonight. So thanks so much for showing up. I want to thank my CS3 investments team. Some of them flew in to be here, which is a wild story, guys. My net direct distribution team, some of them are here tonight as well. And I would be nothing without the people that have trusted me, that have believed in me, that have believed in my vision to go build multiple companies over the years. And that's how it starts, guys, of how I started chasing my dreams. And I am a kid from Ecuador, South America. I came to the United States at 17 years old because of this dream that my dad had. And little did I know that over the years, and I'm gonna go back to when I started, but over the years, I would be the founder of Net Direct Distribution that became a multi-million-dollar e-commerce and logistics company. I would become the top 1% seller of Amazon in the world of nutritional supplements. I would go and co-found Dr. Emil Nutrition, an 8-figure company that we built in 18 months. And in the middle of COVID, we exited for over $20 million. Never thought I could do that. This kid from Ecuador that had big dreams. And then, once that happened, we started CS3 Investments because I met Grant Cardone. Somebody dragged me into one of those events and told me, you gotta be there. And he gave me a huge dream beyond what I thought I could ever do. And then we've acquired over 1,000 units in the last 12 months of multifamily real estate, which has been incredible. And then following his blueprint, we say, you know what? We don't want to do this alone. We got to start teaching this. We got to start showing people how this is done. Because I know there's so many people that need this opportunity. And we founded Salguero Training Technologies, which had a different name 4 years ago when we started. And it was a company that was founded with my brother Ricardo in honor of my dad that passed away 4 years ago. So now it has transformed into a company that is on track to do $100 million in business by 2025. Training entrepreneurs how to become real estate professionals in multifamily real estate. That's the path we're following. So I'm going to share a little bit of my story. And who do I learn it from? I learned work ethic and discipline from my dad and my mom, my heroes. Two entrepreneurs that came from nothing, especially my dad. My dad was born in an incredibly small town in Ecuador that is only famous for the ice cream they sell there. Probably has 1,000 people now still. He never had a dad. He never had a mom. Raised by her grandma, by his grandma until 5 years old, and then his grandma passes, and then raised by his sister. And through adversity and through challenges, this man goes to the big city, teaches himself English, becomes a salesman, and starts his first business at 4 years old. Buys a printing press, starts a business. So I was very small. I was only 5 years old when he started this business, and I remember the smell of the printing press. I remember him being there 7 days a week, 365, and we were right there with him, and my mom supporting him 100%. So I lived through those years where I saw him fight through adversity. At 50 years old, he got cancer. He got lymphoma, stage 4 lymphoma. And I see this man that had built already a successful business go back to zero. Because back in those days, health insurance in Ecuador didn't exist. So he had to sell it all. He kept one machine. He already had 10 machines, sold everything so that he could get better. Come to Houston, MD Anderson in Houston, and fixed himself. And I could see this man not only going through the chemo and the radiation and all these things, but he also tried every holistic thing that you could think about, right? Went to the jungle of Ecuador so that they could beat him up with leaves and stuff like that. But he got better. And he started again. So I saw him start again from scratch. And 2 times in his life, he fought cancer successfully. And he lived a beautiful and successful life. And he passed at 84 years old. He showed me how to fight adversity. He showed me how to not be persuaded by challenges and give up. And then my mom, another story of success. Her and my dad, after we went to college, didn't get along, so she moves to the States and starts again from zero. With $100 in her pocket, she starts and meets a man on Yahoo Messenger. We were freaking out, as you could imagine. But this guy ended up being her soulmate. Larry Redinger, an ex-army vet that loved my mom till his last breath. And with him, they not only became my first employees. My mom was employee number 1. Larry was employee number 2. My beautiful wife Myra was employee number 3. And they built alongside with me our first business. And then 4 years after that, they went on and built a multi-million-dollar e-commerce business themselves. So proud of them. And for me, chasing the American dream was my dad's dream. Most people say, man, I cannot do stuff in the United States because I don't have a visa or I don't have papers. I had a student visa, then a work visa. It took me 20 years to become a US citizen, guys. And I can't tell you how excited, how happy, how joyful I was to finally call myself an American citizen. Because it was a longing in my heart. And I think that I value it so much and I treasure it so much because it cost me so much. Because it took me 20 years to get there. So now, with that opportunity, what do, guys? We honor this country. The flag flies at our house every single day of the year. Even when Myra wants to take it down when the winds are crazy and hard, I'm like, no, leave it there, man. Leave it there. I like to see it. When I leave home, I like to see it there. When I come back, I like to see it there. Because it's a reminder every single day of what we have in this country. Freedom beyond belief. Opportunity beyond belief. Choices. And most importantly, the ability to help the next person with what we know. And when I started my first business, guys, I was in college already here in the United States. I came at 17, no friends, no family. First in my whole family that had come to the United States. My dad basically said, okay, son, it's time for you to go after high school. Kicked me out of the house, said, I'm gonna pay for your first year semester, and then you have to figure it out. But Dad, how? You'll figure it out. So he pays my first year in college. And I was scrambling. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I started working for free. I started working for free for the college because they couldn't hire me. Legally, they couldn't hire me. Until about 6 months in, they figured out a way to pay me. They started paying me. And then remotely, I started a mountain biking magazine with my brother and my mom in Ecuador. That turned out to be so popular there. And it was literally a 4-pager, black and white 4-pager. We knocked on doors in the summers when we were back home. to go try to get clients. And we built it into the biggest mountain biking magazine in South America from college here in the US. That paid for some of my college. And then I realized, man, I've been sitting on this idea all along. My dad owns a printing company. And guess what universities and colleges use a lot? They use printing materials. So because I had worked so long for the college for free, I knew the president, I knew the dean, I knew every single professor. I was very good friends with the staff and the faculty and everybody else. And I started pitching, guys. I started pitching a crazy idea. A crazy idea that was, what if I could sell this university all their printing materials made in Ecuador, and I could ship them, and that could pay for my college. And I told a couple of friends about this idea, and they told me, you're crazy, man. They're never gonna buy from you. How? And I say, well, let me try. So I tried, and they say, look, you can get it done, you can get it printed, you can get it shipped. If we don't like it, we won't pay you. So I convinced my dad to give me credit terms, because the man wouldn't do it for free for me. Hey, Dad, I have this deal. Would you give me some credit? He's like, yes, son, I'll give you some credit, but if they don't pay, you pay. I love that my dad was so hard on me, guys. But he was hard in a loving way. He pushed me to places where I felt uncomfortable, and he knew that if I wasn't comfortable, I would learn. I will grow. So that's how I paid my college, guys. For the next 3 years, I had a magazine running in Ecuador, and I had a printing business. So the college paid for my college. That's how it ended up being. And then I graduated, guys. I thought I needed a couple degrees, so I took a master's degree. And, I just didn't have any debt, so that was amazing. So when I graduated, I went knocking on doors, and I was an engineer, and I had also a business degree. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the Silicon Valley. I'm gonna go try my luck in the Bay Area. And I find a job at HP, which didn't come easy, by the way. I went over there and I said, hey guys, are you guys hiring engineers? And they said, yeah, we're hiring engineers, but you need 5 years of experience to work here. And I'm like, I don't have experience. I just graduated. I was like, well, what else are you hiring? We're hiring interns. Oh, cool. How much you pay? Nothing. It's a free gig. Like, okay, when do I start? So I started working for Hewlett Packard. For 6 months, I worked for free. I was first in, last out. And I guess they liked me because they hired me a few months later. And within 5 years, I became the youngest North America laser printing engineer in the company. Multi-billion-dollar company. But at that point, I felt like I had arrived. I was making 6 figures, $250,000 a year at HP as an engineer, as an engineering manager. I had the BMW M3. I had a great apartment. I was traveling the world, all the benefits. So I felt super comfortable, guys. I was like, man, this is it. But sometimes things don't go to plan, just like Jeff was talking about. And then you know what happened back in the early 2000s. Some of you guys probably don't remember this. You're too young. The dot-com bubble exploded in Silicon Valley. So many bankrupt startups in tech. But something even worse happened right after that. 9/11 happened. And then the world changed dramatically. Most of you guys remember where you were in 9/11. That's how crazy it was. Some of you guys were not born, but for the ones that we were alive and conscious, I remember where I was. You remember where you were. But then one of the hardest things I had to ever do in my life came about. I was given instructions from my boss. And he said, Carlos, I'm sorry I have to tell you this. And I thought he was going to tell me you're fired. You're laid off. I hope that that was the case. And he said, you need to fire half of your team. I had 100 engineers in my group. And I asked, who do I fire? How do I pick? We don't care. Figure it out. And those were the worst 2 weeks of my life until then. Because I had to decide about other people's futures. Most of the engineers in that team were married, had families, had mortgages, had kids to support. They were 10, 20 years older than me. I was in my early 20s, guys. If anything, they should have fired me. So I told my boss like 3 times, how do I pick? He's like, Carlos, look, if you're not gonna pick, I'm gonna pick. And he ended up picking for me. And I had to sit in front of 50 people over a period of 2 weeks and tell them, you don't have a job anymore. You know what that did to me? It completely changed me inside. It reminded me. It reminded me of the dreams I had as a kid, because I didn't have control over that situation. And this frustration, this anger, turned into commitment. Commitment to go start something that I could control, that I could build, that I could actually maneuver and change. And it reminded me of my original dreams when I was a kid, which was go to the US. I had that one figured out. Start a business. I started a little one, but then this was the opportunity for me to start a new business while I worked for HP. My other dream was to become a millionaire. And had I stayed there, I probably wouldn't have become one until way in my 60s, maybe. And another dream was to find a good woman to start a family. She's sitting right there. My dream is sitting in this room. And then the last dream that I reminded myself as I was preparing some of these notes is to help other people create generational wealth. I've always loved to teach people. I've always loved to show, because I feel like knowledge is like water. And if water doesn't flow, what happens? It gets stagnant. It gets dirty. It smells. It stinks. Still water doesn't provide life. Moving water gives life, nutrients, flourishes things, and knowledge is the same thing. So when you learn something, you got to give it away. You got to teach it to somebody else. So I started my first business in the US. I started selling stuff on eBay, flipping stuff on eBay, as if my life depended on it, right? And you see that picture right there. That's my son Isaac when he was a chubby kid. I know he would have appreciated that, right? Not chubby anymore. Super handsome, taller than Dad. This was our office, right? Our basement office back in those days. And we worked like our life depended on it. In fact, the beautiful woman that's sitting right there, I remember our first holiday season selling on eBay. You know, we had done okay the first 2-3 years. I met her about a year, 2 years into our business. And then Black Friday, and we were selling like a couple hundred orders a day, easy, right? We had an employee. I don't know if Hector, you were working with us back then. Yeah, he's still with me, guys. And we show up to the office. We open our screen, and it was 3,000 orders that we needed to ship. From 200 a day, we had 3,000 wait. We didn't have systems. We didn't have manpower. I think we called a couple family members. They came for a minute, got tired, and left. So Myra and myself and Isaac, we slept in the office for 3 days, packing and shipping orders, right? Isaac was sleeping on the couch. I think we still have that couch. It's a black couch, black leather couch. I have it in my office just to remind me of what we did back then. But you know what? We didn't lose our account. We shipped every single order, and they kept coming, and they kept coming. And that's when we hit it big in eBay, or so we thought. But then there was struggles. It was growth. It was setbacks. because we're trying to figure it out by ourselves, right? And I found this amazing woman that I didn't think I deserved. Because one of the things I did is I told her, baby, you got to quit your job, right? And she looked at me like I was crazy. She was a quality assurance manager at Comcast with benefits. And about a year into it, I was pitching so hard this idea of you got to work with me that she actually said yes. So I picked her up in a limousine at her Comcast office, embarrassed her in front of all her coworkers so that she would never go back to that place. And that's when she said yes. And for the next few years, we built this business. We grew from a basement office to a warehouse and a bigger warehouse. And then we had the opportunity to buy a 50,000 square feet warehouse, which, man, that's when I met Jeff, by the way. About a month or two after I bought that building, Jeff hits me up. He knocks on our door and says, hey, I need a sponsor for one of the fights. And that's how Jeff Cisneros and I met. And I saw this hustler, this passionate hustler, chase after me. And we've known each other since then, which has been an amazing ride. And I realized in some of those days that this working for free idea, which many of you entrepreneurs, how many of you guys have worked for free in your life, in your business, right? Just to learn. How many of you have worked for free? And I realized that working for free over the years turned me into a millionaire. I worked for free for my dad since I was younger than my twins. Never paid me a dime. I think he bought me a skateboard once, right? But they took us on trips. They fed us really well. And he paid for my paragliding lessons. So that was cool. And then I worked for free at college, like I told you. And then I worked for free to build our magazine because nobody believed in us. We were kids. Nobody would buy from us. And I worked for free in my Amway network marketing business while I was at HP. And that's where I learned that I should always be reading books and I should always be listening to tapes. That was my self-development school. For years, I did that. In fact, Myra knows this, man. We had a chest full of self-development tapes for years and years and years. And I would listen to these people speak success, motivation, inspiration, drilling to my brain that maybe that was possible for me. And of course, I worked for free at Hewlett-Packard to try to get that big paying job that I didn't think that I could ever get. And then I worked for free for my company. Because when we first started, and Myra knows this, our credit cards were maxed out. We didn't have much money. The money that came in for orders went out for inventory, and so forth and so on. And eventually things started tracking. But we also lost a lot of money. You remember those games that we bought? I bought $150,000 of video games, only for them to become obsolete 3 months after I received them. And we had to throw them away, and that costed another 50 grand. Back to zero. Those are the struggles. And along the way, these dreams that I had, guys, the dreams that I told you about, became a vision. And that's when things changed in a big way. And I realized that for a big vision, you can never do it alone. And one trait that I learned from my dad, which I think he passed on to me, is that idea that I could do it alone, that I could bootstrap this, that I didn't need to have any debt, that I didn't need to have any partners, that I could do this all by myself. And that's how we did it for many, many years. And I said at some point, I told myself, I can't do this anymore alone. I don't know where else to go because we had hit our limit. So I started for the first time in my life doing something that my dad never did, seeking mentors and getting in successful rooms. So I invested a lot of money in masterminds and mentorships. And I don't even know if I told Myra how much money was going out for masterminds and mentorships. She probably would have freaked out. But I remember paying for my first $25,000 mastermind. And I went in that room, and you know what happened in that room? They sold me a ticket for a $100,000 room. And I did it. But in that room, guys, that led to the biggest win in my life at that point. I met a guy in that room that called me 2 months later and said, "Hey, Carlos, I know that you have a warehouse. I know that you have an e-commerce business. I have a guy that needs to sell a company. Would you help him?" I said, "I'm going to try." So I called 10 of my customers. 3 of them were interested. 2 of them submitted an offer. 1 of them bought this company from him. And he paid me $250,000 commission for making 10 phone calls out of 1 connection in that room. So I'm like, there's something to this. And this same dude, which in the end, we didn't even like each other as partners, but this same guy calls me up and says, "You know, Carlos, I just paid you $250,000. And this goes back to Jeff's story about just rolling it all back in. I had the $250,000 in my bank account, and he said, "Carlos, why don't we start a supplement business, a nutrition company? What do you think about that?" And I said, "Man, dude, this money hasn't even been in my account for 24 hours. What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, you put 250, I put 250. What do you say?" And I don't think I even asked you about it. Let's go. Let's do it. And then we roll it all back in. And he says, "You know what? We need a doctor to be our sponsor of this thing." So I go on Instagram and I find a doctor. And we co-founded Dr. Emil Nutrition. That was in 2019. And in 18 months, we built that company to 8 figures on Amazon. During COVID, half of it. And we saw for the first time, because I was going to these masterminds, these mentorships, the value of reaching out to more successful people, to having mentors, and to understanding that I could do the impossible, or what I thought was impossible. Because all of you guys at some point need to believe that you can do the impossible. That if your parents didn't do it, your friends didn't do it, your spouse doesn't think that you can do it, you can do it. Because if one other human being did it, you can. And that's the belief that kept me going all this time. So we took this 5 product, we had 5 products, guys, nutritional supplement, and in 18 months, we took an 8-figure exit in June 29 of 2020. On my birthday, I got the check. Remember that day. And then I thought I was going to be excited, man. Baby, we achieved financial freedom. We have millions of dollars in the bank. And it was the point in my life where I've been the most scared ever, because I didn't know what to do next. And I think that all of us entrepreneurs that are dream chasers are like this, because we're not in it necessarily just for the money. We're in it because we can go do something else and go help more people in the process. And I was scared, guys. And I thought to myself, I'm only in my early 40s. All this money in the bank, man, shoot. And I don't know how to multiply money. I had learned how to make money. I had learned how to save some money because we were very frugal. Always lived below our means. But I never learned how to multiply. And I was like, oh man, I never took the time to learn how to multiply money. I learned how to invest it in my businesses, but none of my businesses needed this much money to grow. So now again, I looked for a mentor, guys. Now I knew better. I was like, you know what? There's got to be a person that can help me with this. There's got to be somebody that can help me with this. And I was reminded of that vision. That vision that I told you before, which was to create generational wealth. What does that mean? Something that lives beyond me. And secondly, to help lots of people. Because when you can have both, That was my dream. That was my vision. And this vision needed a vehicle that would outlive me. Something that would be here way after I'm gone. And I was reminded of my hobby up to that point. And that was real estate. Because over the years, when I met Myra, she had a little townhouse. In her 20s, she bought a little townhouse, right? So she beat me to it. She lived in a little townhouse. And then when we didn't sell that townhouse. We moved to a little bigger house. We rented the townhouse. And then when we moved to the other house, we rented the other house. And then I convinced her to do Airbnb. So we had this little hobby going on the side, a little gig, real estate. And for the last 15 years, I had been dabbling in real estate, right? Never really taking it seriously, never really pushing. And a friend dragged me to this event, to this real estate summit. My friend James Katina, one of my best friends in the whole world. I spoke to him on the way here. He prayed for me, right? Because he's a musician and he has a Christian band. I'm gonna pray for you, bro. And I'm like, yeah, man, pray for me. I take it. So he drags me into this event with Grant Cardone. In fact, he paid for my ticket, guys. Those are the good friends. He paid $2,500 for me to have a VIP ticket at the front at Grant's event. And that's where I met my mentor, Grant Cardone. My mentor in real estate. And for the next 3 days, the guy slapped me silly. Carlos, you're thinking too small. You're thinking too small, because we were buying duplexes and triplexes and little things. And this guy, Mr. 10X, Grant Cardone, which many of you guys know, and many people here have been impacted by him, he has $5 billion in multifamily real estate. And he started with a $3,500 investment. And the vision then became clear to me. After that event, I told a few of my friends, I'm gonna go acquire $1 billion of multifamily real estate and help tens of thousands learn and invest in the next 5 years. Locked into that. And I started speaking that off the rooftops. And I tell you, speaking that vision has attracted the most incredible people to my team, because they have aligned to a goal that is beyond us, that we cannot achieve by ourselves. And we took it so seriously. We're so obsessed about it that from July of 2021 to the next summit of 2021, we had acquired 1,000 units in multifamily real estate in 12 months. That's how fast it became. And Myra probably said, man, this dude is crazy. You're buying what now? Right? But you know what, that woman, she just smiles at me and says, go. Go do your thing. Always loving, always supporting. Never once she has told me, you can't do this. A couple times she's saying, oh, you're starting something new? That's it. But then she goes and is like, all right. And then she enjoys it when we do it. $45 million in multifamily assets in 1 year, guys. Not by myself. With my team and my investors. So my real estate journey started with our first house. Then we bought another house. We bought a warehouse. That warehouse, guys, that we bought 10 years ago, we bought for $800,000. It was in ruins. We had to put $500,000 into it. Now it's worth $7.5 million after 10 years. Never thought we could do that. That's what I'm telling you. I didn't even put attention to it. Then we bought a house in Florida, turned it into an Airbnb. My dad passes away, leaves us a cash flowing property. So for the first time, I learned that my dad was the most terrible landlord that you could ever think. He collected rent in person. He never increased rents. He didn't have good contracts. And it was a mess when we took that over. But that taught us a lot of lessons on how to manage property well. And it cash flowed, right? It paid money. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. Can I do this with more stuff? And then I meet Grant Cardone in July, Mr. 10X. And 3 weeks after that event, I find a property in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a $20 million property. And because I was so energized from that event, and he said, Carlos, nothing but 50 units or above. And I kept hearing here in my head, it's like 50 units and above, 50 units and above. Okay, cool, 50 units and above. So I find this deal that has 54 units, residential, and 37,000 square feet of commercial at the bottom. And I call the broker. Hey, is this for sale? Yes, it's for sale. You want to come see it? And it just so happens that it was in Tennessee. My brother, James Katina, my friend, lives there. Hey, James, go see the thing. Let me know if it's good. He goes the same day, right? Excited as me. FaceTimes me from the deal. Says, Carlos, dude, this thing is just unreal. Beautiful property. We got to do this. Let's go, baby. So I show up a day after. The owner shows me. We put an offer. Never in my life I had raised a penny for anything. Not for my business, not for a project. Never took money from anybody else other than the bank for a mortgage. So I'm like, okay, how much do we need to raise? $6 million. Oof. I thought to myself, man, I've never raised money. But I kept hearing Grant, man, the deal will bring the money. Carlos, the deal will bring the money. And I kept telling myself that. So sure enough, we pitch it. And we end up buying that deal. In March of 2022 of this year, we closed. It didn't take 3 months. It took 5 months to close that deal. Myra saw me sweating bullets, right? Because the lender just took us to the ringer, right? And then I realized that real estate is the best business in the world. And I'm gonna tell you why real estate is the best business in the world. Because it lasts for generations, guys. This place here, beautiful place, Anthony, will be here way after we're gone. The properties that I buy, the multifamily properties that I buy, will be here way after I'm gone. It's essential and necessary. People need to rent, guys. More than ever, right now, people need to rent. It cash flows, guys. It pays monthly income without us having to work the business. It's passive. It has unreal tax incentives, guys. For the longest time, Myra and I, man, we've been writing checks to the IRS. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. The more success we had, the bigger the checks got. And I just didn't know how to avoid it, how to stop it. This year, for the first time in 15 years of business, we didn't pay taxes. We got a refund. $50,000 refund. We kept all the money that we made because of multifamily real estate. It increases in value, guys. The banks love to lend on it. The banks love to lend on it. They'll give you money all day long if the deal cash flows. They don't do that for stocks. They don't do that for crypto. And it can become passive. And then we assembled this dream team of dreamers, of multifamily hunters, that other than my brother and James Katina and maybe Miss Grace Wilson, I've known more than a year. Every single people in this picture is going after multifamily real estate in a big life. This kid sitting right here that flew in from Nashville today, Brandon Ford, quits his job at a top 5 accounting firm, KPMG, with a 6-figure salary to go buy $1 billion of real estate with me. 24 years old? 25, he turned 25. The same age as my son. Quits his 6-figure job to go hunt $1 billion business. And I feel it's the best decision that I've made, inviting you into the team, and that he has made. And I'm gonna tell you what he just found, not even 2 months ago. It's coming. So then I start building this portfolio, guys. I start investing with Grant in some trophy assets, learning the business. I buy equity in beautiful properties in Houston. equity in beautiful properties in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, trophy assets that will last forever in the best locations. I find the Gateway Village, guys, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this deal. This was my first deal. Total cost, $20 million. In 7 months, guys, I've increased the value of that deal by $9 million. By increasing the rents $500 and by putting 3 tenants in the commercial empty space. $9 million in 7 months. I still have $8 million to realize in upside in that deal. By the time we refinance in 3 years, that deal is going to be worth $37 million. Never seen a business like this, ever. Why? Because you can control the value of the property by moving up rents, by optimizing expenses. We buy our second deal in May 1st, 2022. This deal, I didn't find this deal finds me. Somebody calls me in the middle of the night, Carlos, we have a deal, 48 units in Columbus, Georgia. It's an A-class property. How much is it? $4.8 million for 48 units. $100,000 a unit? Can you buy $100,000 a home anywhere in America now? Can you buy a home that is $100,000? You can. And it's brand new, built in 2018. Wow, I'm in. So I go walk it, and 5 minutes later, I ask, how much are the rents here? $850 a month. Wow, for a 2-bedroom apartment? That's crazy. So I go next door for an apartment complex that's built in the 1970s, and I ask, how much is the rent here for your 2 bedrooms? $1,050 a month. I was like, okay, I'm done here. I'm gonna go home, write the contract. And we close it. By the time we refinance this in 24 months, Brandon laughs because we were projecting $1,150. We're writing leases for $1,500 and $1,600 a month. At our projection, it was a $5 million upside in 2 years. I don't even know what our upside is going to be, right? Probably $7 million with what we're doing right now. It's insane. It should be illegal. We're printing money. And then Brandon and James, because they're obsessive like me, find the big sister of the Gateway Village somewhere in Tennessee. I can't tell you yet because I haven't signed the contract. I want to sign the contract on Monday. But this deal, guys, is 138 units, built in 2021, 95% occupied, 21,000 square feet of retail, and only 1 unit available. Everything's under market rents. Everything's under market rents. The residential, the commercials, and under market rents. The area, it's hot like crazy. $187,000 per capita income in that town in Tennessee. We're buying it for $41 million with costs. I texted Brandon today, hey bro, what's our estimated value at refinance in 2 years? Or sorry, in 5 years. Conservatively, $63 million. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what about non-conservatively? Because that's my plan, right? The conservative is what I show. The non-conservative is what I aim for. Oh, I think we're going to do $67 million in 5 years. So this deal is going to gain $20 million in value. So then I realized, guys, that I needed to start teaching this stuff because we were having so much success. So I come back from another 10X event, 10X Stages event, which I think I met Andrew there, or I really connected with Andrew there, who's one of my mentorship students here in the room. And after that event, I was so convicted, guys. And that's when really Salguero Training Technologies was born, in that room in Colorado Springs. What was it? 4 or 5 months ago. And I tell my team, guys, we gotta start a mentorship program yesterday. And we start the mentorship program. And over the course of 2 weeks, we sell $2 million of mentorships. And we bring this group together. And these three couples, 2 of these couples were in my mentorship. And these guys halfway in, find a deal. Because I told them, guys, there's no success in this mentorship unless you guys buy a deal while we are in the mentorship. And they believed me. They believed me and they did it. And they go find a deal, guys, that doesn't exist right now, which means the loan is 3% interest only for 5 years from the seller. We are closing this deal in Rocky Top, Tennessee. The students and I. And they told me, yeah, we'll let you in because you're our sponsor, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it with you guys. I think you guys can do it by yourself, but if you want me, I'll do it. $2.9 million, guys. By the time we sell this deal in 4 years, it's going to be a $2 million upside. Most of these guys that are in the mentorship have not even bought their first home yet they're going to go make $2 million in the deal inside of 4 years and cash flow at over 9% for 4 years. Incredible. But it's the power of knowing and acting on that knowledge that creates that. So we created this mentorship that takes people by the hand for 16 weeks, shows them exactly what to do, what not to do, how to offer, how to talk to brokers, how to talk to lenders. Trevor and his beautiful wife are here, and you know, he's one of the star students also. They built an amazing team in that group. They're after some big deals, right? And then what I wanted to do, and I told Jeff when he showed me this space, is Jeff, man, this place needs to hold the very first Denver multifamily real estate summit. All of you guys are invited because you're here tonight. We're going to do it in January. We're going to fill this room with 500 or so people to teach them real estate, to teach them how to create massive value in these properties and create generational wealth for their families. And we're going to show them exactly how to do it. We're going to have the whole team here. We're going to have some amazing speakers. Who knows? Maybe Uncle G will show up. I think Matt Smith will help me bring that man onto this stage, right? And if not, Matt Smith will be on this stage right alongside with me, right? By the way, guys, undercover billionaire TV star Matt Smith is in the room with his beautiful wife, Jenny. Thank you so much for being my friend, man. Thanks so much for being successful. You inspire me every day. So we're going to do this, guys. We're going to sell tickets at $1,000 for the executive. We're going to sell tickets at $2,500 for the VIP. And you know why we're selling the tickets? Because unless people commit, they don't act. They don't go. And because I went to one of these rooms, it changed my life. It changed the life of the Salguero family. We're on course to do $1 billion in real estate in the next 7 years with a team. And I'm taking along with me 20-year-old somethings, right? Brandon, Eric, and a team of dreamers, Grace, that are coming along to do this with us. That deal that you guys saw in Tennessee, guys, wouldn't have happened if I hadn't found this team. This team that believes enough to go through 300 deals a month so that we can find 4 or 5 opportunities that we're willing to put an offer. And out of those 5 opportunities, one stands up and shines and says, you know, this is the one that we need to do next. So don't ever be thinking, I can't do this. I cannot learn this. People spend hundreds of thousands of dollars getting a college degree, guys, for 4 years straight, and they graduate and they're like, what do I do now? I haven't made 1 penny yet. I need to go apply. That's why I'm so thankful for my friend James Katina that dragged me into a Grant Cardone event and told me, you gotta go here, and it's gonna change the life of so many people that we're gonna bring into this $1 billion dream. So it's time for all of us to decide, me included, guys. And this is what I thought to myself. Carlos, are you going to continue to be an spectator and watch other people build in the multifamily space? Or are you serious enough to be part of something bigger than yourself that will have its epicenter here in Denver, Colorado. And I would love for many of you guys to come along with us and build multifamily wealth. Are you gonna be a spectator like I was? Or are you gonna be in the arena, playing with us, buying multifamily so that you can change the life of your family and your loved ones? It's been an amazing pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. Can't wait to do it again. I know that every single one of you guys are here because either I convinced them to come, even somebody's birthday, or because you believed that you could find something here. I hope you make a friend, a connection, a partnership. I hope you learn something that takes you to the next level tomorrow and that can change your life. And through that change, you can impact another person, maybe 10, maybe 100, maybe even thousands. Thanks so much. Appreciate you all. Bye.